Steps for replacing a timing belt on a 96 Ford Ranger. This is a 2.3 liter engine. It's a straight 4 block with 2 coil packs. That means it has 8 spark plugs for 4 cylinders. Okay, and this is actually a Mazda engine built for Ford. Now, the first steps in working with anything inside the engine compartment is to disconnect the negative battery terminal. If you're unsure which one the negative is, of course you can go by the negative and positive signs. Don't always go by the black and red, because sometimes the colors can be switched. And if you really want to be sure which one the negative is, it's the one that's attached to the vehicle chassis, or it's grounded onto the engine block. See this here, this terminal here is connected to part of the body there. Can't see really good with the lighting, but that would be the negative terminal. After you've done that, you want to remove all 8 spark plugs. Now, on the passenger side, you want to disconnect the intake hose, okay, the air intake hose here and right at where the air filter is, just so you have access to the spark plugs here. I've already removed these and you can't really see that well, but be sure that you label your spark plug wires when you pull them out, so that you know what goes where when you put the spark plugs back in, and there's no need to remove them at the coils because they will not be in the way. As far as the driver's side, that's a whole nother story. Yeah, make sure you have a safe work environment. Okay, on the driver's side, there's very tricky spark plugs to get to. One is right through here. You cannot see it, but you need a long extension to get to that spark plug. There's another one that you can reach through there. Make sure you have sockets, spark plug sockets with swivels on them, because there'll be weird angles. The next 2, which are cylinders 4 and 3, and we go 4, 3, 2, 1 being the front of the engine. 4 and 3 have these built-in devices which are easier to pull out the spark plug wires, because you have very little room to work with in between the intake manifold here. So one is directly through here and one is approximately through here. You need a flashlight and a lot of patience to get to those. So anyways, once you've removed all spark plugs and disconnected the negative battery terminal, the next step is to reach top dead center on the number 1 piston on the compression stroke. Now, to verify this, you have 2 peep windows, one for the camshaft, and this one on the top, one for the oil pump pulley, which is this one here, and one for the crankshaft, which is down here. You can see a dial. See there, top dead center, and you'll match that up with a marking after you remove the outer timing belt cover, and we'll get to that promptly. Okay, now here's the viewing hole for the camshaft, and there's the viewing hole for the oil pump. Now, previously, these 2 plugs were covering that up, okay, and they're easily removed with the flathead screwdriver. You just pop them right out. Now, another thing I forgot to mention, when you take out your spark plugs, I like to label them from the cylinder I removed them from and from what side of the engine, in this case, because it's a 4-cylinder with 8 spark plugs. So there's number 4, number 2, number 3, number 1, etc., and then I'll put right or left from which I got them from. And I noticed the ones on the left side, which would be, from my point of view, would be the passenger side. I noticed that there's a lot more carbon deposits on the actual, see there? Whoop. Okay, see that? See that carbon deposits there on the spark plug? And on these, which were on the driver's side, they're a lot cleaner. My guess is that, I'm not an expert in the field, but my guess is that these are involved more in the combustion, and these probably are involved more in the compression. Okay, so another thing I forgot to mention was that not only do you have to disconnect the negative terminal, but also the positive terminal if your vehicle has a airbag system. Okay, by disconnecting the positive terminal in this particular vehicle, after 2 minutes, the secondary backup charge for the airbag system will discharge, and that way, in case you trip a sensor or something, your airbag won't deploy, and that is another costly feature to get it, reinstalled or whatnot. And okay, besides labeling all your pieces, in this case I put them in Ziploc bags. This is another handy tool for removing spark plugs. This is a 5/16 diameter rubber hose, which is an engine. It's used. It's a common piece you can get at an auto parts store for like $1 a foot or whatever. It's like an 18-inch piece, which is very convenient after you initially uninstall the spark plugs with the socket. You don't want to go all the way because then the socket could be loose and it's hard to reach. So you just initially do it with the socket, and then what you do is you plug this into the part where the coil spark plug wire would connect to, and it's easier to unthread it from that point, because then you can retrieve it without dropping the spark plug and damaging the gap in the spark plug. And also, when you're installing, you want to begin installation with that rubber tubing so as not to strip the threads. Okay, the next step is to drain the cooling system. Here I have a 2-gallon bucket which I use for painting, and it's very convenient because I don't have to jack the vehicle up in order to put it underneath. And if you pay attention, see if I can zoom in on it, there is the drain plug valve for the radiator, which was on the driver's side, and underneath it there is a spigot per se where you can connect. I use the same spark plug hose that I use, 5/16 diameter, which fits close to snug, and then I'll put that to drain into the bucket, and I'll probably have to empty it a few times in order to get the cooling system drained. And in order to drain it, you don't have to turn the vehicle on. Definitely don't want to turn the vehicle on, especially with no spark plugs, but because it won't turn on. But you just remove the radiator cap in order to relieve the pressure, and then once you turn this by hand, you don't use any kind of wrenches or anything. You might break the valve because you could turn it easily by hand in most cases, and that's what you want to do. You want to drain the cooling system. Okay, now the radiator water is draining into the bucket, and as you can see, it's pretty brown, which indicates a lot of corrosion or rust, probably because there wasn't any coolant in my system. So I'll probably end up flushing the system, and before I fire it up, I'll end up using 50/50 antifreeze coolant, which is good to prevent rust and necessary when you're in cold weather conditions. That's some dirty stuff. Do not let your engine get like this.